Welcome to the design guide for the new HTML interstitial and HTML interstitial with video ad units. These both use the same core template. As such, all of these setting options are going to be the same. The only difference is the default settings when you first select the ad are going to be different for the video as opposed to when you select the non-video version of the HTML ad. So we're going to start by previewing the ad unit. And basically this unit is designed to act like an overlay on top of your existing website. So you can basically do a semi-opaque gray out behind the ad unit and then basically use whatever image, SWF file, and or video you would like within this ad space itself. Once the user X's out of the ad or waits for the countdown timer, and again we'll preview this again, the ad can come with a little countdown timer that you can customize that will automatically have the ad move on to the background or the page underneath, or the user can X out here and move on as well. So basically your settings here, starting with step one in your media. You basically have one media container. It can be any size you want, and this is basically the size of the interstitial ad unit itself. In this instance, we have an image uploaded that's 805 by 625 pixels, and it can be a JPEG, PNG, or GIF, or SWF file. If you want to run an animation, you can do that. The one thing to note is if you are using SWF files, those are not going to render on iPads, iPhones, or any other non-flash compatible device. So if you're using anything other than an image in here, if you're using an SWF file, notice that two options down you have the ability to upload an optional media container failover image. And basically if you're using an SWF file here, you're going to want to upload a backup image that's going to play instead of that SWF file when that same ad is viewed on an iPad or iPhone, for instance. So your second option is to upload a custom close button. We have a little sample one in here that you're welcome to use, or you can upload your own close button of any size you want, and we'll show you in just a minute how to configure where that lives on the ad. And then finally down at the bottom, your last option is to include a video clip. And again, you're going to use MP4 files for this. And if you do not have an MP4 file, we recommend the easiest way to convert a file is using a method or a free site called filewiggler.com. That's filewiggler.com. And this is basically an online only tool where you don't need to download anything. It's basically there and available for you. So use filewiggler.com to convert your files. Maximum file size 8 megabytes, and the codec you're going to want to use is the smallest size, H.264. If you have questions about any of that, feel free to give us a call, 866-467-2289. So moving on, colors, basically your background color. So when I preview this ad right now, it's using a black background that has an opacity of 50%. I could change that to be a different color if I wanted the overlay to be more of a green hue, blue hue, whatever you want. You can simply edit that here, or pick from the color picker. So when I change this to a blue, for instance, and let me just select it over here for simplicity. When I preview now, the background is going to be more of a blue hue instead of gray. Coming down, you've got your countdown timer. You can color that any way you like. And then finally, a custom hit area. We'll go over that in a second for test mode. Click-throughs, you can have up to 4 unique click-through URLs here, 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you want to schedule different hit areas on different parts of the ad, you can do that using these different URLs. And then finally, we have our custom settings. So starting with our media container, what we're going to do is whatever size and shape we want to set that to, we're going to configure the height and width here, and then you're just going to upload a corresponding image or SWF file that's the exact height and width of your choice. Make sure these two match identically, or else the ad's not going to view properly. So in this instance, 805 by 625, we have that set here. Next up, we have the vertical offset. So anytime you preview this ad, it's going to be centered horizontally, but you can adjust how far down from the top of the page you want this to live. So right now there's a 100 pixel offset. You could make it farther down or farther up depending on what you've set this vertical offset to. Background mask, opacity, basically this means how dark do you want that background to be? How much do you want to basically gray out or block out the background site behind there? So if we switch this to a darker, something closer to 100%, like 0.9, when we preview the ad, that background's getting way darker and you're going to see less and less of the site behind there. If you want it to be lighter, like 20%, again, we're just using 0.2 for 20% in this case, that background's going to get lighter and lighter and you're going to see the site more and more behind that ad. So that's the transparency mask. Auto expand on initial render. For this ad, you're always going to leave this at yes. If you put that at no, the ad's not even going to pop up in the first place. So you're always going to want to leave this as yes. Now, the next question for these ads, this is a very important one. Do you want to limit the number of times that the interstitial basically appears for each unique visitor? By setting this to yes, it automatically drops a cookie onto the user's browser. And the next setting basically says, obviously you don't want this interstitial to appear every single time someone hits your home page in a particular session or even in a particular day. So usually you're going to want to set this to at a minimum 6 hours, maybe 12, so that really just once a day you want this interstitial coming up for each unique visitor to your website. So again, we could set that to 6 hours or no, but I would recommend putting in some limiter here. Auto expand delay, we have that at 1/10 of a second. I would leave that alone. Countdown timer, again, how long do you want it to take? For instance, 20 seconds to automatically go away. This is in the instance that the user is just sitting here waiting. They can either click the close button, but if you wait for 20 seconds in this instance, the ad is automatically going to go away and let you through. So that's just another way to have them go through to your website. You can, for that timer, you can do a vertical and horizontal offset. So if I wanted to move that more to the middle of the ad, I could, for instance, move it 400 pixels to the right. And now when I preview the ad, that timer is going to be over here on the right-hand side. So again, you can XY coordinate that anywhere you want. Next up, you've got your close button, height and width. So this one happens to be 50 by 51 pixels. If you want to use your own close button, just enter the height and width here, and then come back to media and upload and select your own image here for a custom close button. And then once you have that in there, you have your vertical and horizontal offset for that close button. So if I wanted to, for instance, on this ad, move it down to the bottom of the ad, I'm going to change the vertical offset, in essence the Y coordinate, so that the ad, X is down here. We could move it a little farther. 600, for instance, might be too far. Yep, that threw it off the page. So we'll do 560, something like that, and that's going to get you exactly where you want for the close button. Next up, include video player. So if you want to include a video player, I can just say yes. Your next options are video player height and width. In this instance, it's 300 by 200. We could, for instance, make this a much bigger video, make it like 600 by 400. And then it's got an X and Y offset. So let's say I wanted to make this 120 pixels to the right and 120 pixels down from the top. And then finally, you need to make sure you actually have a video selected. We have a default one in here for previewing, so that when we preview the ad now, we have a video player now, and it's going to live on top of that background image that you've uploaded. So right now, the default is set to not have audio play automatically. You can come down here to your settings and underneath here say, I'd like the video to start on its own when that ad appears, yes or no. And would you like the audio to start on its own, yes or no? If I switch both of those to yes, I'll turn on my speakers here, and now when we preview the ad, it's going to automatically start, as well as the audio's auto starting here as well. So that's how you get a video in there. Next up, custom hit areas, basically your click-throughs. And again, if you're always going to have probably at least one click-through, and you're typically going to set that first hit area to the exact height and width of the expanded container, in this instance 805 by 625. So that in this case is going to go to click-through 1, which is yahoo.com. If I wanted to add a second hit area, if I wanted to link to Facebook or any other part of that image, I can simply create a custom hit area 2 and activate that. And let's say I wanted to make, for instance, my video clickable. I would make a hit area that's the same height and width as my video. So 600 by 400, we'll give it the same offset, 120 pixels to the right, 120 pixels down from the top. And then I could do the same thing, activate custom hit area 3, yes or no, we'll say no. Custom hit area 4, yes or no, we'll say no for this. And at the bottom, we can turn on test mode, which is going to allow us to see exactly where those hit areas are living. So in this instance, I've got hit area 1. That's the, oh, sorry, I clicked through there to hit area 2. Let's try that again. Sorry, I've got hit area 1. When I preview the ad. Hit area 1 is the entire background. Hit area 2 lives exactly flush on top of the ad. Now, if I want those player controls to be editable, I don't want to put the hit area completely on top of my video player. So I'd make that hit area a little bit shorter from a vertical standpoint. So instead of 400 pixels tall, let's make it 350. And now when we preview our ad, we can see that the video player controls. And the way it works is hit area 1 is always going to be behind a video if you're using one. Hit area 2 is stacked on top of the video. So in terms of stacking, you've got hit area 1, video player, then hit area 2, 3, 4 are all stacked on top of one another. So the higher the hit area, the more it takes precedence. But this allows you to have a hit area behind the video as well as on top. So those are basically all the custom settings. If you have questions, as always, you can call us at 866-467-2289. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you again soon.